What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. I'm your host, Ray. Today, I'll be reviewing this 1:400 scale replica of the WestJet Bombardier Dash-8 Q400 made by Gemini Jets. Item number GJWJA2272, released in November of 2024. In this video, I'll do a review of the model, after which I will list off its pros and cons, and at the end, I'll decide whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. The box for this model is made from cardstock. The protective packaging on the inside is made from plastic. This box measures 10.5 centimeters long and tall and 4 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. This is the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. This box features a flap that's on the front of the box that allows you to see the model inside of its protective packaging. Underneath this flap is a bit of information and history about the aircraft in the box. Included in the box is the model as shown here, fully assembled, painted, and ready to display. Let's do a quick 360 before I begin my review. The fuselage length for this model is 8.3 centimeters, the wingspan is 7.2 centimeters, and the height is 2.1 centimeters. These dimensions are accurate to 1:400 scale. This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal, and evidently it's quite tail-heavy, and we'll see why later. Let's discuss the fuselage first. The nose shape of this model is solid, it's pretty good. The tip here could be maybe a little bit pointier, but overall the shape is well within acceptable margins, so I won't complain about it. Here we can see that there's a lot of printed detail on the fuselage, and this model is quite small. And for its size, it's pretty nicely detailed, and I'm aware you can't see that part under the wing here. But yeah, there's not too much going on the fuselage underneath the wings, so we're really not missing much there. And as we move to the rear of the aircraft, we see more livery details and a bit more printed detail. So far, so good here on the fuselage. Okay, wait a minute, hold on. That doesn't exactly look right, but the APU there appears to be pointed. Oh, never mind, that is correct. Sorry about that. I'm still not familiar with the anatomy of this airplane, but I thought this APU section pointing up was incorrect, but that's actually correct. Here's the left side of the vertical stabilizer along with the horizontal stabilizers at the top of the vertical stabilizer. The overall shape looks pretty good. It's molded together with the fuselage, so there's no attachment joint that we need to worry about. And it actually extends quite far out onto the fuselage here. So that's accurate, that looks good. In terms of paint application, the colors look pretty good. I do see that some of the blue paint here is kind of spilling out onto the white, and maybe some of the white was patched up. Not by much though, so that's not a terrible imperfection. Here's the right side of the vertical stabilizer. This looks pretty good as well. Here we don't see as much of that paint imperfection that I pointed out on the left side, so that's nice to see. Unfortunately, the horizontal stabilizers don't look all that well. It seems as though they took quite a beating in terms of the staining I see on them. And this isn't debris that we can just move on, okay, some of it appears to be debris, so I need to clean off the model a bit better. But I do see some paint imperfections here. They're very small, so I will cut Gemini some slack there. But I do see that the seam between the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer is quite rough here on the left. On the right side, it's also a little bit rough as well. We have a similar story going on the bottom side, and whoa, what happened there? We got a small paint chip of some sort going on there, or I don't quite know what that is, but it's like protruding from the stabilizer there. That's kind of strange. Yeah, these didn't fare off too well in terms of paint application from the looks of it. Here's the right side of the aircraft. Overall, it's pretty much the same story over here. So far, so good on the fuselage. Thankfully, I don't see any defects that are worthy of noting. Okay, maybe I do. First off, I see that the printing of the door here isn't exactly a consistent size. That actually might be an accurate detail. Stand by. I was wrong. This is an accurate feature. So this is accurately printed here. That's very nice to see. So overall, no complaints on the fuselage except for that little nose imperfection, but that really isn't something to write home about. Let's move on to the wings and engines. We're going to merge those two sections since the engines are pretty much part of the wing on this model. The wings look decent at a first glance. The recessed line details for the control surfaces look pretty good. I do see that this flap fairing got cut off, kind of. I know it's supposed to be short, but it's not supposed to be flat like this, so that's kind of strange. The only piece of printed detail up here is this blue rectangle. That looks pretty nice. Now, I'm seeing a lot of staining here towards the joint with the fuselage. I don't know what that's about, but that's not good at all. That doesn't look good at all, and that's definitely not correct. The leading edge of the wing looks pretty good, actually. It's painted with the black paint there, so that's nice to see. And the engines on this model, they're all right. I don't really see anything worthy of complaining about. The color, the paint here is accurate. That looks good. And the propellers look pretty good. Now, the only issue with these, and this is not really a complaint, but more of a warning, these are really fragile because, well, they're small and they're thin and they're very easy to break. But they do spin, as shown here. The application of the yellow paint on there wasn't perfect, but again, these are small parts, so I should give Gemini a bit of credit there. So overall, the engines are good. The wings are somewhat decent. Let me show you the right wing here. The right wing looks a little bit better than the left wing in terms of paint application, but I do see some stains here and there as well. And the propeller on the right engine looks pretty good as well, and it does spin. Now, I should mention that if you want to blow air onto these, they won't spin as easily, but bottom line, they spin, and that is a pretty cool feature. The bottom of the wings aren't as detailed. They don't have any printed detail down there, not that there needs to be. And the bottom of the engines looks pretty decent as well. I do see that the application of the blue color here is ever so slightly misaligned, but that's really not a terrible offense. What is a terrible offense? Well, not terrible, but I do see that the color here is definitely inconsistent. There's a darker bluish green color here, and then it suddenly transitions to a much lighter one right there. And this is off of both sides, so I don't know what happened there, but that is annoying to see. This model does not feature any 3D antennas or small details like that, simply because the model itself is already tiny, so it would be really difficult to reliably include that kind of detail. The bottom of this aircraft is quite plain. Forgive the terrible joke, but there really isn't that much to look at down here. There's some printed detail with stenciling, and there's the small Gemini Jets logo right there. And back here, we actually do get a decent amount of detail with the APU access doors. That looks pretty good, as well as the paint here. It's showing, on the camera, it's showing it as though it's blue, but it's actually closer to green, so don't trust the camera with the color entirely. Overall, the color on this model is pretty decent, minus what we saw on the bottom of the left engine here. I don't know what happened there. Now, the thing I'd like to talk about the most in this model is the landing gear. Now, the nose gear, this thing is tiny, as it should be. If you see the nose gear doors, those are tiny, and the gear itself is also really small, and it's pretty solid. Now, the main gear is also pretty nice at a first glance. Here's what it looks like. The wheels on there are made out of rubber, and they roll, but if we look at the way they're mounted, look at that angle. The landing gear for this aircraft should not be angled backwards that far, if at all. So this angle here is absolutely incorrect, and that is terrible to see on this aircraft. It speaks to the accuracy of the assembly, which really in this case was quite terrible. The gear struts themselves look pretty nice, but the way that they're mounted to the aircraft is completely incorrect. Ironically, the gear balance is actually pretty good. The vertical stabilizer is definitely angled off to the side. The horizontal stabilizers aren't even symmetric, and it appears that the right wing, the one on the left side of your screen, is bent. Oh, there goes my dog. As I was saying, the right wing appears to be bent and warped, so that's not good. But what I was referring to earlier with the model being tail heavy, this is how it sits on the ground, and if you even look at it the wrong way, it'll lean up on the tail like that because of the way the gear is mounted, so that really kind of kills the model for me. Alright, that concludes my review. Let's go over the pros and cons. What does this model do well? The paint colors are accurate, overall delivery details are nice, and for being such a small model, it contains a decent amount of detail. And now let's go on to the cons. It should be no surprise that I have a lot of these. Cons, the assembly quality wasn't great, the gear mounting angle was just atrocious. We saw quite a few paint issues here and there, imperfections, but they start to build up one after the other, and you start to see a trend where this model has a lot of problems. So, on the basis of the quality of the assembly and the atrocious gear mounting angle, I do not recommend this model. This was just terrible. I thought Gemini would do better, but I guess not. Gemini dropped the ball pretty hard with this model. Well, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those down below in the comment section, and I'm happy to answer those for you. Feel free to check out my channel for more model airplane content, and stay tuned for more model airplane content. And if you want to show the channel some support, feel free to like this video and subscribe so you never miss another upload. That's all for today. Happy building, happy collecting. Thanks for watching. Please take good care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.